Shalom from Beit and thank you for joining me in the study of Parashat Trumah. Today we would like to discuss an idea of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. What does it mean to build a place that God will be the one to dwell in it? We all know that God has no shape or form and basically has no body, so he definitely does not rest and settle and dwell in a house. And especially when we look at the beginning of this parsha, where it says, דבר אל בני ישראל, ויקחו לי תרומה מאת כל איש אשר ידבנו ליבו, תיקחו את תרומתי. Speak to the children of Israel, and they should take for me a truma, a contribution, a donation, from every person that really has some kind of a generosity of his heart. They shall take my contribution. And then what they will do with all the money, with all the funds, all the materials that are collected, ועשו לי מקדש ושכנתי בתוכם. And they will make for me a mikdash or Mishkan, and I will dwell where? In their hearts. It's very interesting. It doesn't say they should build for me a tabernacle, a Mishkan, and I will dwell among it or within it, which will be the Mishkan or the Mikdash, which means the tabernacle or the temple, but rather in their hearts. So it seems to be that there is some kind of a structure that needs to be built, which is the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the desert, and then later on the temple in the land of Israel. But even when you have this structure, you need to know that really the main place that God would love for you to build a tabernacle for Him is in your heart. But what does that mean? What does that mean to have a Mishkan, a tabernacle in my heart? Is that for me to prepare my heart for God to dwell in it? What does it mean practically? So let's see what our sages has to say about it. In Shmot Rabbah, in a Midrash, the sages says the following: ויקחו לי תרומה, and they shall take for me a truma, a donation or a contribution. הדה הוא דכתיב, that's what the Torah says later on in Deuteronomy, תורה ציווה לנו משה. Now, this is very interesting. It seems to be that there is no correlation between the verse from our parsha, which is ויקחו לי תרומה מאת כל איש אשר ידבנו ליבו, תיקחו את תרומתי, that they shall take a donation from every person who has some kind of a generosity of his heart, and he or she will give donation, to the verse that the Midrash quotes, which is Torah ציווה לנו Moshe, מורשה קהילת יעקב. The Torah that Moshe commanded us, ציווה לנו, he commanded us, מורשה קהילת יעקב. What is morasha? We will translate in a minute and we will explain in a minute. But it seems to be that the two verses in the Midrash really have nothing to do with each other. So we will try now to see if there is a correlation, if there is a connection, if there is some kind of a link between the verse that is quoted from our parsha to the verse that is quoted from Deuteronomy, that in the Midrash's eyes, they are really connected. They are intertwined together to present to us an idea. So, the Midrash in Shmot Rabbah continues and says the following: Darash Rabbi Samlai. So Rabbi Samlai or Shamlai created some kind of a drasha, a statement. תרי"ג מצוות ניתנו לישראל על ידי משה, שכן מניין תורה. So Rabbi Shamlai says, look, if you look at the numerical of the word Torah, so Taf is 400, Vav is 6, Reish is 200, and Hey is 5. So together it's 611. So just 1 second. Rabbi Shamlai opened his statement by saying that we have 613 commandments. And then he says, and you know how do I know that? Because the numerical of Torah is 611. So you started with 613, and you bring a proof from the Torah which is only 611. So the Midrash obviously asks the question, ואם תאמר אינן אלא תר"י"א ושתיים היכן הם? So he says, but just 1 second. You started with 613. You brought the proof from the numerical of Torah, which is only 611. Where are these two? Where did they disappear? אלא אמרי רבנן, אנוכי ולא יהיה לך מפי הגבורה שמעום. ותר"א אמר להם משה, שנאמר תורה ציווה לנו משה. So Rabbi Shammai says, the answer is pretty clear. The first two commandments from the 10 commandments, אנוכי השם אלוקיך, I am Hashem your God who took you out from Egypt, or לא יהיה לך אלוהים אחרים על פניי, that you should not have any other gods besides me. These two were basically commanded to the Jewish people directly from God. Am Israel, the nation of Israel, stood at the bottom of Mount Sinai and they heard God's voice. After these two commandments, according to our sages, the people went to Moshe and they told him, we just can't. It's too overwhelming for us. We are terrified. Therefore, please, Moshe, you speak to God and you will convey the message. So, 6:13 minus 2, you got to 6:11. And that's what the pasuk, the verse says. Torah tziva lanu, the Torah, the numerical of 6:11, who commanded it to us? Moshe. Obviously on behalf of God, but we didn't hear it directly from God. So until now, we still don't understand exactly what is the connection between v'yikchu li truma, and they will take for me truma, to Torah tziva lanu Moshe. However, if we think in a midrashic way, we might develop some kind of an idea already. The word that the Midrash is trying to focus on and to emphasize is li, v'yikchu li. They should take for me. And the verse that is being quoted from Deuteronomy is lanu, for us. So now you can already see some kind of a reciprocity between God and the nation of Israel. We give something to build the Mishkan, and God gave the Torah for us to prepare the ground, to have His divine presence within us. It can be through the tabernacle, the structure itself, the physical structure, or through, what I said before, the heart, that He will dwell among us, not among it. So already we see something that is very interesting. 2 commandments were directly given by God. The 611 were given to Moshe on behalf of God to us. In exchange, we built a place for the Torah to dwell, because if we will digress for a second, we know that we received the Torah, the tablets. Moshe broke them because of the golden calf. Then he received a new one, and he put the broken tablets and the complete tablets in the ark. And where is the ark? The ark is Oel Moed, the tent of meeting, which is the Mishkan. And it's within the Mishkan. So really the heart of the Mishkan, the heart of the tabernacle, is the Torah. So now we can see, or at least to begin to understand, what exactly our sages are trying to tell us. Our sages are trying to tell us that in a way the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and even the Beit Mikdash is always there, even if they are not there in reality. They are destroyed, or you are not in that place. You still have a Mishkan in your heart through what? Through the Torah. This idea is being developed in the Midrash. And the Midrash says morasha. What is morasha? So the word morasha, and that's the beauty of Hebrew, can has many connotations. It can be from the word Yerusha, inheritance, and it can be something else as well that we will see in few minutes. So let's see the first interpretation. The Midrash says, Morasha, al tikri morasha, don't call it, don't read it morasha, but rather Yerusha, inheritance. Yerusha hi leIsrael leolam. The Torah is an inheritance for us forever. Now, hold on. Have in mind what we try to develop the idea. The Mishkan, the tabernacle, was only for maybe 100 years. Then you have the temple, temple 1, temple 2, but they were destroyed. Basically, the history of Am Israel, the history of the nation of Israel, that we have more years without a tabernacle and without a temple. And what helped us to survive? was not a building, was not a structure, was not a physical, beautiful building. It was the Torah. The Torah that kept us alive, the Torah that in a way escorted us through the Jewish history. משל לבן מלכים כשנשבע שהוא קטן למדינת הים, which is what? It's a parable to a prince that was captured, and they took him overseas. אפילו לאחר כמה שנים אינו בוש. So even after many years, when he comes back to his father's kingdom, he has no shame to demand his crown. And why? אומר לירושת אבותיי אני חוזר. Because he says, I'm going back, I return to my inheritance. This is my inheritance. No one else can take it. כך תלמיד חכם, שהוא פורש מן התורה, והולך והתעסק בדברים אחרים, even a scholar that was in yeshiva and did many other things. He went and he became a doctor, he went to the army, he became a lawyer, he became whatever he did. He did other things. He couldn't stay in yeshiva for all those years. So what does he do? אפילו לאחר כמה שנים הוא מבקש לחזור, when he wants to return back to learn Torah and to be engaged with Torah, אינו בוש. He should not be embarrassed. Why? שאומר לירושת אבותיי אני חוזר. You return back to your inheritance. This is a beautiful midrash that basically teaches us something which is so insightful. Obviously, we would like to encourage people to learn every day. The idea of daf yomi, 1 page a day of the Babylonian Talmud or the Jerusalem Talmud, was an incredible invention. Everyone can do at least 1 page. Or if you can't, you do 1 verse, 1 Mishnah, you do something. Obviously, the idea of constant connection to Torah is very important. However, the Midrash is basically telling us that even if there were a few years that we were not that connected, if some people just chose different paths, or they decided that, you know what, it's just not for me right now, when they decide to return, they should not be embarrassed. They should not feel that they are coming to something that it's not theirs. The Torah is for everyone. Everyone has a share in Torah, and everyone needs to feel that he or she, basically, they belong, because that's their inheritance. So even if I didn't do anything for that inheritance, and even if I was not really involved or engaged with that inheritance, it's mine. And because it's mine, I belong. So the idea of what this midrash says is, it's something in a way even more than the Mishkan. In the Mishkan, I contributed, I donated. They built it partially because of me. The Mikdash, same thing. But really, if I'm not a Kohen, I'm just a regular Israel. So I see the Beit Mikdash, I see the temple 3 times a year. You know what? 7 times a year. I'm a really committed Jew. But that's it. What about the other 358 days? Or even if I can see the Beit Mikdash 3 months of the year, there are still 9 months that I don't see it. So what's my connection to it? It's a place that I visit, it's a place that I feel maybe connected, but it's not mine. And also, when God thinks that it's time to destroy it because of what we did, it's being destroyed. The Torah never destroyed. So the idea in a way, and this is I think something so important in Judaism. Yes, there is a temple, there is a tabernacle, there is a physical structure. We understand that people need some kind of a center that they can look up to it, they can see a structure. But really, the main place where you build your tabernacle is in your heart, because the Torah that creates this place for the divine presence to dwell within you, you can take everywhere. That has nothing to do with any physical structure. It's just about you and your inheritance. So that's the second explanation of the Midrash. And then there is a third. דבר אחר מורשה, אל תקריא מורשה, אלא מאורסה. This is the beauty of the Midrash that can play on words and says, don't call it morasha, but meorasa, which means betroth or engaged. What does that mean? מה חתן זה, כל זמן שלא נשא ארוסתו, הוא הווה פרודררין, meaning the guest, לבית חמיו. משנשאה, הרי אביה בא אצלה. This is an incredible thing. When people get engaged, so the Khatan, the groom-to-be, he go and visit his fiancé. And where is his fiancé? Mostly in her parents' house. However, when he gets married, when they become a couple and they are married, and they move to their home, her father needs to come and visit her. So what's the point? Says the Midrash, כך, עד שלא ניתנה תורה לישראל ומשה עלה אל האלוקים. So until the Torah was given to Am Yisrael, Moshe had to what? To ascend to Mount Sinai to receive it. משניתנה Torah, but when the Torah was given to Moshe to give to the nation of Israel, אמר הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה, Hashem says to Moshe, ועשו לי מקדש, and they should make for me a מקדש, a tabernacle or a temple, ושכנתי בתוכם, and I will dwell among them, which means what? So to speak, God comes to visit us. Before the Torah was given, we had to, quote unquote, visit God. We had to send someone to ascend the mountain and to go and to talk to God. After the Torah was given to us, so to speak, Hashem visiting us. And if Hashem visits you, you need to create an atmosphere, an environment, a place which God will feel comfortable. And this is, I think, an incredible idea that the Midrash is trying to convey to us. We are the owners of the most precious divine gift ever, which is the Torah. So the Torah teaches us how to behave between us and God, but also, equally important, how to behave between us. And only by doing both, we can create a place for God and His divine presence to really dwell with us. So morasha does not mean just Yerusha, inheritance, but also to be engaged and then get married. So the Torah, in a way, is the kli, the instrument that bring God into our lives. דבר אחר, אל תהי קורא מורשה, don't call it מורשה, אלא מאורסה, again, engage, מלמד שהתורה ארוסה לישראל. שנאמר, וארסתיך לי לעולם. Because it says what? And I will be engaged with you forever. Now, let's stop here for a second. And we should ask a question. The last interpretation of the Midrash is that God, in a way, got engaged with us forever. Now, there is an advantage and disadvantage in being engaged. On one hand, you know that there is a commitment, you know that there is love, you know that there are plans for the future, but still the marriage is not cemented. Being married, you know that the commandment was cemented, so wouldn't that be better to be, quote unquote, married to God and not only engaged? However, the advantage of being engaged is that there is this tremendous anticipation, this tremendous, I would say, excitement for what will come. And with marriage, you already get to some kind of a routine, even though you always try to rejuvenate it, but there is some kind of a routine. So as we can see, God decided to say, based on the verse, ve'erastich li le'olam in Hosea, that you will be engaged with me forever. So, we will develop that idea in a few minutes. ומניין שהיא כאשת איש לעובדי כוכבים שנאמר, היחטא איש אש בחיקו ובגדיו לא תשרפנה, אם יהלך איש על הגחלים ורגליו לא תיכוונה, כן הבעל אל אשת רעהו. So the Midrash basically says the Torah belongs only to the nation of Israel, and if someone who is not from the nation of Israel will try to, in a way, quote unquote, put his hands on the Torah, it's like really being with a married woman. Which means, what is the Midrash trying to tell us? The Torah was given to us. We are supposed to teach all the nations some kind of the lessons and the values of the Torah, but the Torah itself belongs only to us. And why? Because we are engaged with God through the Torah. Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha kehilat Yaakov, which means the Torah that Moshe commanded us, it's our inheritance. We are the ones to be engaged, kehilat Yaakov, only the congregation of Yaakov, and that's it. Okay, so let's go and try to delve a little bit deeper into this idea that we are engaged with God. This relationship is a relationship of engagement. So the pasuk, the verse is in Hosea, in second chapter, verse 21. It says, "Ve'erastich li le'olam," I will be engaged with you forever. "Ve'erastich li," and I will be engaged with you, betzedek, with justice, u'vemishpat, with judgment, bechesed, with kindness, ve'berachamim, with compassion. Now, as you can look at this verse and you can see it, you can hear some kind of a balance between different ingredients. For example, justice versus compassion, judgment versus kindness. And also the word ve'erastich, which means I will be engaged with you, is repeated twice. So what is the idea of this verse? The Malbim on Hosea says the following: ve'erastich li, and I will be engaged with you. ואז אארוס אותך מחדש, כמו שנאמר, ומשוש חתן על כלה, יסיס עלייך אלוקייך. So, the Malbim reads it like that. וארסתיך לי לעולם. I will be engaged with you forever. But I know that you're going to commit sins and the relationship will be jeopardized. They will be weakened. Therefore, I'm going to re-engage you in a different way. What kind of way? Says the Malbim, ויהיו אירוסין חדשים נבדלים מן הקודמים. This new engagement will be different than the first ones. כמו שנאמר, וחרתי את בית ישראל ברית חדשה. I will recreate some kind of the new covenant with the Jewish people. כי האירוסין הקודמים היו רק לזמן. כי היו עתידים לחטוא ולבטל הקשר. Because the first time that God and Am Yisrael got engaged with each other, it didn't last for too long. כמו שנאמר, כי תוליד בנים ובני בנים, כי אבות תאבדון מהר. וכן הוא אומר, וקם העם הזה וזנה אחרי אלוהי נחר הארץ, וחרה אפי בו. Because God knew that, yes, I will always love you, but we can't have relationship like that when I want to have relationship with you and you go ahead and worship other gods. It just doesn't work well. אבל, אז לא יחטאו עוד, ולא יבוטל הקשר. But then, there's going to be a moment in Jewish history that we will stop sinning and stop going astray. וזה שאמר, וארסתיך לי לעולם. That's the beginning of the verse. At that moment, God will be engaged with us forever. And how? זה יהיה על ידי שארסתיך לי בצדק ובמשפט. The eternity of the engagement depends on what? צדק ומשפט, which are, כי שלמות האדם תלוי בשני דברים, because the wholesomeness or the completeness of a person depends on two main things. The first, בדברים שבינו לבין חברו, the way you behave to your friends, the way you behave in society. And the second one is, בדברים שבין אדם למקום, between man and God. ונגד דברים שבין אדם לחברו אמר שיעשו אז צדק ומשפט. So regarding between Adam וחברו, which means a person and society and his friends, he says that you need to do it through צדק ומשפט, justice and judgment. שהמשפט הוא מה שיתנהג כפי שורת הדין. The judgment means what? To do exactly based on the letter of the law. והצדק הוא מה שיתנהג לפנים משורת הדין. And צדק is what you need to do beyond the letter of the law. meaning sometimes to just let go, or sometimes to compromise, or whatever it is. ועל ידי שתביא לנדן שני עניינים עיקריים שהם צדק ומשפט. So if you, Am Israel, you bring to the Nedunya, you bring your gift. Your gift should be what? בין אדם לחברו. This is an amazing Malbim. God demands the nation of Israel, you know what is the gift that I want from you for the engagement? Is that you will behave בצדק ובמשפט. That you will behave based on the letter of the law and beyond the letter of the law. And then, יביא המארס להם כנגדם. So me, God, I will reciprocate, and I will bring for my end what? שתי מתנות יקרות, שהם חסד ורחמים. I will bring kindness and compassion. שבעל הרחמים ישקיף על דקות המרוחם, ועניו ויעשה אותו כפי הראוי. וזה נגד המשפט. So, compassion will be implemented on the people who are miserable and they suffer, so God will have compassion on them. ובעל החסד לא ישקיף על המקבל אם הוא ראוי, and the kindness, the attribute of kindness, will just bestow blessings on the recipient without even checking if he is worthy or not, רק יעשה עמו מצד מידת חסדו, וזה נגד צדק שיעשו המה. So the Malbim says, if you will do mishpat, which is judgment, what you deserve, I will reciprocate with what? With rachamim, compassion. If you will go beyond the letter of the law, I will show you kindness. Now, when you look at this Malbim, and now we will put all those dots together. We began with Veikhu li Trumah, that they shall take for me a donation, and the idea was we built a Mishkan, we built a tabernacle, we built a place for God to dwell within it. But that's not what the Torah says. God did not say that He will dwell among it. It will dwell among them, us, our hearts. And we ask, how exactly does it work? So you see the shift. There is a paradigm shift from a structure, from a building, to Torah. And in the Torah, because there is no structure in terms of a building, something physical, you have words, you have ideas, you have values, you have lessons, you have God's will. And in this God's will, God wants from us, according to the Malbim, to bring just two things, which, by the way, is amazing. God does not demand us to do all the things between Him and us. That's maybe it's obvious, or maybe He knew that we will do, but really He focused on between us and society around us. How to do things by the letter of the law, and how to be smart enough to know when to implement lifnim mishurat adin, which is beyond the letter of the law. Things that are sometimes that you understand that it's in the framework of judgment, but there are some kind of exceptions. And in exchange, He will behave to us in the same manner. So what is the Mishkan? So the Mishkan, obviously, is the structure. The Mikdash is also the structure, the Kohanim, the priests, and everything. But really, at the end of the day, as King Solomon said in Kings 8, chapter 8, "Inei hashamayim u'shmei hashamayim lo yechalkelucha." I know that when I build this temple, the first temple that King Solomon built, I know that it's not going to contain you, God. God is everywhere. You can't contain God, but you can prepare a place in your heart through the Torah, which is eternity, to create a place for the eternal God within you. And it starts with the way you behave in society. The way you behave between you and your spouse, between you and your children, between you and your community, between you and your nation. It starts there. That's where you create a place for God to dwell within you. So, in a way, we have two mitzvot. And that's, I think, what the Midrash was trying to tell us. There is the physical structure of Mishkan, that you built a Mishkan that was built with materials, with people who are so wise and talented that they did it. And at the same time, build a Mishkan in your heart. Thank you.